What are we saying? How do we feel about this, huh? Influencer boxing? I'll be honest, I wouldn't say initially I wasn't a fan of it, but I thought it was cool in the beginning when it was just kind of to settle a beef, because two guys step inside a ring, that's commendable. You squash your beef, you fight it out, may the best man win. Good job. I think that was great. But where it kind of lost me was when promotions started to come out of the blue, just spring up like flowers and just put on an event or two, make some money or go bankrupt, I don't know, and just disappear. I think that's where it became an issue. And we got Misfits 007 coming up this Saturday, May 13th. And I think it's a great thing that they've done because they've standardized the system. And I'm not saying that they're the only ones, but I'm just saying is that I like what they've done and I like the direction it's going in. I used to not like influencer boxing. Now I enjoy it. And the reason for that was this is actually growing these people's brands. The fighters on here are actually growing within their own personal brand just by boxing. They continue to create content, and as Ksi said, don't forget about where you came from. Be an influencer. If you're a YouTuber, stay true to yourself. Don't just become a boxer. Because the reason you're there is because of YouTube and because of your fans. Don't just leave on that. That's not commendable. But what's exciting about it is that, as I mentioned, guys like Salt Poppy, I saw him pop up on my TikTok feed a couple years ago, him doing the fake running, him doing the salt, all that stuff. The guy was hilarious. Followed him right away. I tried to recreate myself trying to sprint in one spot, and I looked like an absolute idiot. So I need help with that. But Salt Poppy now, to then, we realize that he's actually a very, very high level boxer. Not that he has had professional fights that people claim he has, but just simply he's naturally gifted in that. His footwork, his movement, his timing, his placement, his just reaction times. He looks good natural out there. I'll put it out there. It looks good natural. There are guys that might be good, but they don't look like naturals. They're just maybe athletically gifted and they can get away with it because they're strong, they're fast, whatever. But Salt Poppy actually has that. And what I'm trying to get at is we should not be using these influencers as just a stepping stone to make some money, as these promotion companies want to do. You should actually be trying to grow them because that not only helps them, but it helps you as well. The more they grow, the more eyes on you, the more money you make, the more money they make. It's a win-win situation. And I think that's what we need to continue with. Kingpin, Most Valuable Promotions, these things need to continue doing that stuff. Misfits as well. And I don't think we need to have more of that. There's no need to have 74 boxing influencer federations because it just saturates it. We need to have one quality or two or three places where we can watch that kind of stuff. And that is why I do like it now. It's not a joke. It's not a joke anymore. It's not just kind of like, oh, throw this together, have them random TikTok people, YouTube people fight, and that's that. No. This is now becoming an actual thing, as we have seen with, Jake fighting Tommy Fury. He lost, but I'm just saying we're making those steps up. KSI fighting Joe Fournier. I honestly don't know much about Joe. I've seen a couple highlights, but he's a pro boxer. We'll see how that ends. But what I'm trying to really get at here is that this is interesting to me. This should be interesting to you too. And just because you may be a boxing purist or a combat sports purist, just because somebody's a influencer, it doesn't mean that they can't do that. But that doesn't also mean that anyone can do that. And you shouldn't do that. This is something that you should know the risks of. You should dedicate yourself to 100%. This should not just be to go to get a paycheck. Well, it can be sometimes, but you know how that goes. But this is an actual fight where you could pose damage to yourself or to your opponent. Lifelong lasting damage. Injuries can happen. Hits to the head can happen. We don't know what could happen. There's people that that come out with issues later on in their lives. And this is why I'm saying that this should not be taken lightly. What they're doing is actually commendable. They're working their asses off. And that is why it's exciting. And like I said, this weekend we got KSI versus Joe Fournier, Misfits 007. And I just want to kind of go over a couple fights and talk about what I think will happen, who I think will win, and once again, why this is such a good idea. First fight I want to talk about is going to be Salt Papi against Anthony Taylor. Anthony Taylor has fought some good people. He's lost a handful of times. He's never been knocked down. But Salt Papi's on his way up. If you saw what he did in his last couple fights, you'd realize he actually has some skill, as I already mentioned in this video. But this one's interesting because Salt Papi's fighting somebody his size, somebody smaller in terms of height. I know his first couple fights, weren't against real boxers, but I'm just saying is that this one actually will be interesting. I still do have Salt Papi winning this one, either by decision or maybe by TKO. Maybe not by like a knockout, but just judge is going to stop. Like the ref's just going to stop it because he's getting hit way too many times. And I think this is good. We need to teach influencer boxers. And I'm not saying that everyone's an influencer boxer. I know there's some pros on here. I'm just saying is that when you're not at the highest of high levels, you shouldn't get the benefit of the doubt of being like, hey, let me get hit another 5-6 times. Because you've never been in that situation. You've only been in these kind of fights a handful of times. Guys that have 30-40 fights under the belt, that's different. They're fighting for a world title. That's very different. As I said, we got Salt Papi. That's my pick for that one. I'm not going to talk about the ones before that because I'd be doing a disservice to them because I don't know much about them. The only other two that we want to talk about are Deji against Swarms and KSI against Joe Fournier. Deji and Swarms. Swarms coming out saying he's going to knock him out, do all this, that. But after seeing his last two fights, come on, man. But also, Deji just going to bob and weave and not going to throw back. But I better see him throw because that's the Deji that I want to see. He has the skills. He has the potential. I just want to see it come out this fight. That's why I'm also going for Deji. It's going to be probably a TKO or decision victory. Let's see how it goes. And the final fight, KSI against Joe Fournier. I genuinely don't know what to expect from this fight. I haven't seen Joe Fournier fight enough, and I haven't seen enough full fights, and I just don't know the people he fought with. Are they that good or not? Like, it's difficult to rate, and this is why it's also interesting, because a lot of the times we don't know what to expect. How do you set the odds on something when nobody's fought before? Or maybe somebody has previous experience. Maybe someone's just naturally gifted and somebody's not at all. And that's why it's interesting, is because anything could happen. But I still have to stick with KSI winning this one, via TKO, KO, because I don't think he would take that fight that's that dangerous to lose it. Maybe he would. I don't know. You tell me. But either way, all that aside, I think KSI is going to win that one. This is going to be a great event. I'm excited to watch this. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm just excited to see the atmosphere, to see the people there. It's going to be big. And the one thing I want to mention, we got Wings against Boogie. Boogie? Is that the way you say it? But yeah, his Rage videos from before. I think that's going to be an interesting fight. And that is why this is fun. This can be enjoyable, but I'm just saying this needs to be standardized in a way that we don't exploit the fighters, but we just push them up to grow with the promotion so that it's a win-win across all boards. And that is why I think influencer boxing is actually great. And I think we should continue doing it with rules. Thanks, guys. See you next time.